Welcome to Conversations of Hope, shining light on the journey of healing from abuse and trauma. I'm Faith Ingram of Speaking Truth in Love Ministries.
And I'm Michelle Viscuse from Journey Pink. As survivors and advocates, we're here to support, educate, and inspire. Whether you're a survivor of abuse, a friend, family member, or a professional working with survivors, this podcast is for you.
We're breaking the silence that allows abuse to thrive, offering insights for healing and tools for effective support.
Our goal is to create a safe community of understanding, healing, and hope for survivors and their allies.
Visit conversationsofhopepodcast.org for resources and more information. Thank you for joining us on this journey. So in today's episode, we're going to continue our conversation with Dena Schrock. You'll find the first part of this conversation in last week's episode. So if you haven't listened to that, or if you want to refresh your memory, you may want to go back to listen to last week's episode to set the groundwork for this week's, because this is just a continuation of that conversation. I know this is very difficult, this whole situation, but are there glimmers of hope that you saw while you were going through it? Or you can look back now and see it, even though it was very, very difficult. And it's still something that is a journey. It's a lifelong journey. You're still going through healing from the breakup and the divorce, but your kids are still on their healing journey as well. So what glimmers of hope did you see while you're going on this or looking back?
Well, looking back, I guess my hope back then was my kids. And I'd say if I didn't have Christ, if I didn't know Jesus Christ at the time, to lean on him and then to stay strong for my kids, that is really what got me through it. And I also did some other things, like to help myself. I did some courses, a Bible course from church, and I did running, which going on a walk or running was very helpful just to mentally get some brain, I don't know, it just felt good to go run. And sometimes I did a lot of worship, just put worship music on and be in the presence of the Lord. That was very healing and helpful. But yeah, as far as hope, like sometimes we get to feeling sorry for ourselves. And I was, at one point, I realized I'm feeling sorry for myself. I gotta do something about that, because once you feel sorry for yourself, it can really damage you. And I recognized it, and I was like, I am not going to feel sorry for myself. This is just part of life. I'm going to get through this. Looking back, I think I just tried to do things to kind of distract my mind. I did a lot of writing. During that time, I compiled a book called Bringing Light into the Darkness, and I had 14 ladies share their story, one story per chapter. And that was healing. That was very helpful for me to see other ladies do something, help them, share their story. So that was a healing project for me.
It's so encouraging to see. We talked about self-help on a previous episode and self-care. And exercise is part of that self-care, and, you got counseling, you listen to music and writing, all of those things are part of self-care. And realizing, I think it's really important that you realized when you were struggling, when you were feeling like sorry for yourself, that you needed to help yourself or get help to overcome those feelings so that it doesn't spiral you down into the pit of depression. And that's so important. And another thing is that you started your own business after you got a divorce. I mean, you had to do a lot of things to help your kids. You had to figure out, how am I going to provide for myself and my children, and what is that going to look like? And a lot of people in your situation, they struggle with, okay, what do I do now? I've been married to this person for this long, and I've known this kind of a life, and now you have to turn everything around and figure out, where are you going to go, and how are you going to um function from here on out, and how are you going to help your kids to get through all of this as well?
Mhm. Yeah, so actually 2 years after the divorce, I moved out of state. I just felt like it would help me and my kids. My boys were still in high school, so I knew they wanted to finish high school with their friends, and so they all moved to Florida with me, and that's when I started my own business, in cleaning, and they helped me out getting started. They worked for me, and then the boys, of course, moved back, and then that's when they decided to live with their dad. And then the girls, well, the oldest girl, she was in college at the time, um, so she was kind of on her own. And then my second one, she still lives with me, and she works for the company. And uh, the move was rough, and it was hard to start a company, to build clientele, and to be consistent in your work and everything. But it has been so rewarding, so worth it. And I I have a really heart for women who go through life that they need a restart. Because I know, as a woman, you don't know, like, how are you going to make money? And especially me with 8th grade education from the Amish, that kind of hangs over your head. I did get my GED later, but it's still the thought, well, you grew up Amish. You have to, like, have mm, a strong work ethic and determination to make it. And especially if you're going to support some of your kids. And it took a lot of hard work. But now my passion is to help other women that are going through similar situations, or just need a restart, or maybe they leave the Amish. Maybe they're young girls that leave the Amish and they need a place to stay. I have helped 5 women, girls, um, that have been in and out of my house since I'm in Florida. And the blessing on that is I'm able to give them a job because I own the business. They all know how to clean, and I can teach them how to use a vacuum cleaner and things that they may never have used before. So it's been a joy, a real blessing for me to be able to help them and see them grow. Of course, it helps them like think of what they might want to do in their life, and so have ended up moving back to another state and living somewhere else and working somewhere else, but it has been a great joy.
And you started a ministry as well, didn't you, Dena?
Yes, so Voices of Hope, I started that when I was still living in Ohio. And it was before the separation. I was still married when I started that. My passion was to give women a platform to share their story and start a healing journey for themselves. Coming from a background that women are not known to speak up or don't have much of a voice, um, I just really had this passion to allow women to share their story and how they have overcome hard things in life. We all go through stuff, and when somebody hears how you, Michelle, might have what you have done to overcome the hard things in the past, your healing journey, if they hear that, it gives them hope. And Voices of Hope is what we founded that on.
And you started that before.
Yeah,
Came.
you must wonder,
Wow.
like, why did that all have to happen after I started all that?
And I even look at it like God was even preparing you in your starting that ministry so that
Yeah.
when you were going, you had other previous hard times, but when you were going through the divorce and finding out about the abuse and all of that, you already had this ministry that there were some people there that could stand alongside you and say, we're going to be here with you while you're going through these hard times. And a lot of times you feel all alone when you're going through these things.
Yeah,
With
that is
abuse.
very true. I did have women around me, and it was very helpful, definitely. Something that just resonated with me now when you said when I went through the divorce, like so many of us, when we file, I think when we file for divorce or we're the ones that filed the divorce, we might say we're the ones initiated the divorce, but I want other women to see this, that if your spouse has done something like that or abuse or whatever they choose to do, they are choosing to divorce. The covenant they made with you to be faithful, they have broken that. When they break that, that is a choice of divorce in their heart. And therefore, I want just the women to not feel like if they are the ones signing the paper or during the filing, that it doesn't mean that um, they're the guilty ones. Or, I think there's so much guilt and shame around divorce that
Right.
it just makes it harder. And just wanted to.
Yeah, we need to recognize that when the vows have been broken and there's grounds for divorce, even if the mate files for divorce first, it doesn't mean that they're the ones breaking the marital vows. And it's so complicated because, we make those vows before God, and And a lot of times, like, I know my mom felt like there was no way that she could divorce because she knew that my dad had violated that trust and broken his vows, but she felt like she couldn't divorce him. She felt like she was bound to live by those vows. And I think there are times, especially when your children are being abused, when you're being abused, and that it is for your safety or your children's safety. God doesn't look at you as you broke the marriage vows and you didn't live up to them. A lot of times people say, well, it takes two. Well, it doesn't take two. Sometimes it takes one person that's abusive, one person that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the other person has to make hard choices to protect themselves or their children. And that doesn't mean that you're the one that caused the divorce.
I think it's great that God gave you the idea for that ministry to start and to name it Voices of Hope, because I think He was giving you your voice and giving you the hope that you were going to need and that you can now offer to others. Very, very powerful.
Conversations of Hope extends beyond this podcast. Michelle and I are available to speak at women's, youth, church, and community events.
We offer presentations on abuse prevention, healing, and empowerment.
To learn more about our speaking engagements and personal coaching and support services, visit our website, conversationsofhopepodcast.org.
Together, we can inspire change.
We really appreciate your coming on and sharing this really hard story, because there are other women that have these hard stories as well. And it speaks to me and probably Michelle in helping us to realize, maybe there are things that we can do to stand alongside women and men that are going through hard times by themselves and they feel all alone and like nobody cares. Even though you know that God cares, you want somebody with skin that you can touch and feel and know that they really care about you and that they'll stand alongside of you and walk through the things that are really difficult, legal services, child protective services, all of those things are difficult things to walk through by yourself, especially if you feel like you can't share that with anyone else. And that helps us when we see somebody going through those things. We need to say, hey, do you need a break? Do you want to go shopping? Do you want to just hang out and watch movies together or something? It doesn't have to cost money to spend time with people.
Yes. And just to not be alone, because it's very isolating. It's a very isolating feeling to be in that situation, especially walking through those circumstances by yourself or not having the support, people checking in on you, praying for you while you go to that appointment or meeting. So
Right.
more engagement, definitely.
And you have
would be
demonstrated
so
that
helpful.
as well, Dena, when you said that you have brought young girls that have to do a restart in their lives, whether they're leaving the Amish or whether they have a life situation that is making it so that they have to leave what they know and get a new start. And you kind of help them, you give them a job until they get on their feet and you help them learn new life skills. And especially those coming out of the Amish, I could see that they might even need to know how to get a social security number or how do they get their GED, and different things that they hadn't been taught while they were growing up, that because you grew up the same way, you can kind of walk them through that and help them to navigate all of the new things that they would go through alone had you not been able to provide that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, thank you, ladies, for being such an encouragement. It really makes a difference to hear your perspective, and it's very encouraging. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to maybe having you on a future episode.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having
Thanks
me.
for being here.
We hope this episode of Conversations of Hope has been a source of comfort and inspiration.
Remember, you are not alone on this journey of healing.
Visit conversationsofhopepodcast.org for more resources and information.
Please subscribe or follow and share with those who might need this message of hope. Until next time, keep hope alive.